Alright, so here we are at part 2 of The Tiger King by Kalki. Now, so far what we had done in the previous part 1 was we got to know that the king gets to know from a fortune teller that he is going to be killed by the 100th tiger. Right? Now it's the king. He's like, how is it possible? And I want to prove this fortune teller wrong. So he went on killing tigers. As and when he came across, he went for tiger hunts very often, and he kept killing them and kept killing them to make sure, and of course he counted them to make sure that the 100th tiger is definitely shot dead, so that the fortune teller is proved wrong. So let's continue with the story and find out further. The Maharaja's tiger hunts continued to be highly successful. Within 10 years, he was able to kill 70 tigers. He had done that. He killed 70 tigers, and then an unforeseen hurdle brought his mission to a standstill. What do you mean by an unforeseen hurdle? Unforeseen, something which was not predicted, something which was not planned. And what was that? An obstacle. What was the obstacle? It brought his mission, the thing that he wanted to kill all the 100 tigers, it came to a stop. The tiger population became extinct. He went on killing them. So obviously they are having no surviving member. All of them literally either they were dead, or where were they? In the forest of Pratibandhapuram. Who knows whether the tigers practiced birth control or committed harakiri. What's harakiri? It is a ritual suicide in Japan by cutting their stomach. So either they did that, right? Or simply they ran away from the state because they desired to be shot by the British hands alone. So they did not want it to die through this king. They wanted to be shot by the British hands alone. So is it one of these possibilities that the tigers became extinct? They were not there anymore that he could kill. One day the Maharaja sent for the Diwan. Diwan Sahib, aren't you aware of the fact that 30 tigers still remain to be shot down by this gun of mine? He asked, brandishing his gun. He says, do you remember, Mr. Diwan Sahib? I still have to kill 30 tigers. I have killed 70, 30 more to go. And he was, nicely polishing sort of his gun. Shuddering at the sight of the gun, looking at that, he was shivering. The Diwan cried out, Your Majesty, I am not a tiger. He says, oh, hello, I am not a tiger. Don't kill me. Which idiot would call you a tiger? The king tells him, oh, which idiot will call you a tiger? No, and I'm not a gun. He says, no, I'm not. You are neither a tiger nor a gun. So relax. Diwan Sahib, I summoned you here. I called you here for a different purpose. I have decided to get married. He says, right now, I have called you for a different reason. And what is that? I have decided to get married. The Diwan began to babble even more. Babble as in talk in a quick, confused or excited manner. He said, oh, yeah, oh, is it? So, he got more baffled. He began to baffle even more. Your Majesty, I have 2 wives already. If I marry you... So you see, this Diwan Sahib is another sample of a kind. He's saying, I already have 2 wives. How can I marry you? He's like, don't talk nonsense. Why should I marry you? What I want is a tiger. And he was saying something and he stopped. Your Majesty, please think it over. Your ancestors were married to the sword. Ancestors as in the person from whom one has descended. So father, grandfather, great-grandfather, your ancestors. They were married to the sword. If you like, marry the gun. A tiger king is more than enough for this state. It doesn't need a tiger queen as well. He says, why do you want to do that? You'd rather marry the gun if you like, right? But this tiger king is more than enough for the state. We don't want a tiger queen. So it's okay as you are. The Maharaja gave a loud crack of laughter. He started laughing. I'm not thinking of marrying either a gun or a tiger, but a girl from the ranks of human beings. He says, I want to get married to a girl. First, you may draw up statistics of tiger populations in the different native states. He's saying first and foremost what you do is you give me the facts or the numbers or the data of the tiger populations all around wherever they are in the different native states, as in a territory ruled by a prince under British supervision. First, you go around and get me that number. Next, you may investigate, you may find out if there is a girl I can marry in the royal family of a state with a large tiger population. So now you see this king, how his head is working. He wants to marry a girl who belongs to, a royal family of a state in which there is a large tiger population. He says, so now I can kill them. The Diwan followed his orders. He found the right girl from a state which possessed a large number of tigers. He found that girl which she belonged to that state where there was a large number of population of tigers. So yeah, he was successful. Maharaja Jung Bahadur killed 5 or 6 tigers each time he visited his father-in-law. Now you see the smart person. Every time he went, they got married eventually. So every time he visited his father-in-law, he made sure he shoots down 5 or 6 tigers. In this manner, 99 tiger skins adorned the walls of the reception hall in the Pratibandhapuram palace. Now, this journey went on. Every time he went 5, 6, 5, 6. Finally, he got 99 tiger skins and they were put up as decoration in his Pratibandhapuram palace. All 99 tigers. Now was the climax where he needed the 100th tiger, and that is what the fortune teller had told him, that the 100th tiger is going to kill you. The Maharaja's anxiety reached a fever pitch. Anxiety as in the worry, the tension about the future. It reached an extreme place, an extreme point when there remained just one tiger to achieve his tally, his count of 100. That is what he wanted. That was his mission. That is where he had started killing the tigers. He had this one thought during the day and the same dream at night. Throughout the day, he had this only one thought, that I have to kill the 100th tiger. He even dreamt of the same. So day and night, only that was in his head. By this time, the tiger farms had run dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. Now, it so happened that killing those 99 tigers, even there in his father-in-law's kingdom, the tigers had become extinct. They were not there anymore. There were no more survivals. It became impossible to locate tigers anywhere. He could not find tigers anywhere. Yet, only one more was needed. That one which really mattered to him. That is what he was unable to find. If he could kill just that one single beast, the Maharaja would have no fears left. If that 100th one would get killed, then he would be tension-free. He could give up tiger hunting altogether. He would just stop hunting for tigers after killing the 100th one. But he had to be extremely careful with that last tiger. Yes, of course, because that was what the fortune teller had mentioned. What had the late chief astrologer said? Even after killing 99 tigers, the Maharaja should beware of the 100th. True enough. He says, yes, 99 killed, agreed, no problem. But the main concern is the 100th tiger. So he needs to be very cautious, very careful. The tiger was a savage beast after all. He was an uncontrollable. He was a wild animal after all. One had to be wary of it, very careful, very cautious about it. But where was that 100th tiger to be found? Big question. It seemed easier to find tiger's milk than a live tiger. He just couldn't locate the 100th tiger. Thus the Maharaja was sunk in gloom. Sunk in gloom as in he was sad. He became hopeless. But soon came the happy news which dispelled that gloom. Finally, he got some good news, and that actually did away, it removed all his sadness. What was that? In his own state, sheep began to disappear frequently from a hillside village. Now there was a small village there, and there quite frequently the sheep were disappearing. So what was happening? Maybe the tiger is taking them, eating them away. It was first ascertained that this was not the work of Khadar Mian Sahib or Veerasamy Naikar, both famed for their ability to swallow sheep whole. He said first it was found out, it was confirmed, it was made sure that it is not Khadar Mian Sahib or Veerasamy Naikar. They were both famous for what? Their ability to swallow sheep whole, the whole sheep. Surely a tiger was at work. Now, if it's not these people who have done this job, definitely it's the job of a tiger. The villagers ran to inform the Maharaja. The Maharaja announced a 3-year exemption, as in freedom from an obligation over your taxes. He says, I will let you go off for 3 years, the taxes for that village, and set out on the hunt at once. He's saying if it really works to be the same, 3 years you people will not have to pay any taxes, that village. And he set out on his 100th tiger hunt. The tiger was not easily found. It seemed as if it had wantonly hid itself in order to flout the Maharaja's will. Now, it so happened that he could not easily find it. It seemed as if it had carelessly, somewhere it had hidden itself in order to challenge someone's authority, or you go against someone. So he was going that the tiger hiding somewhere and not coming in front of the Maharaja, it was challenging the Maharaja's will. The Maharaja was equally determined. He says, I am going to find it. He refused to leave the forest until the tiger was found. He says, I am not moving from here till I don't kill it. As the days passed, the Maharaja's fury and obstinacy mounted alarmingly. Now he was getting really angry. He was getting angry. He was getting stubborn. And now his stubbornness and his anger, they mounted, they raised up, they climbed up alarmingly. Many officers lost their jobs. He says, you can't help me get the tiger, get out. So this is how many officers lost their jobs. One day, when his rage was at its height, when his anger, he was extremely angry, the Maharaja called the Diwan and ordered him to double the land tax forthwith. Now he was so angry that the people are not helping him and he's not getting the tiger. He called the Diwan and he told him, look, you are going to double the land tax hereafter. I want them to pay double tax for this. The people will become discontented. They will be totally unhappy, sir. Then our state too will fall a prey to the Indian National Congress. He says, look, first of all, people will become unhappy. Then even our state will become a prey to the Indian National Congress. They will catch hold of our state as well. Well, the king was so angry. He says, in that case, you may resign from your post, said the king. He says, fine, you resign from your post as well. Just leave. The Diwan went home convinced that if the Maharaja did not find the tiger soon, the results could be catastrophic. Catastrophic as in it is going to cause great damage or suffering. Now, if he did not find the tiger, something bad is really going to happen. So he was just wondering. He felt life returning to him only when he saw the tiger which had been brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house. Now gradually things started falling in place. How? He felt life returning. Why? When he saw the tiger which had been brought from the People's Park, in the park it was there and it was kept hidden in his house. At midnight, when the town slept in peace, the Diwan and his aged wife dragged the tiger to the car and shoved it into the seat. They pushed it into the seat. The Diwan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. Now, he was very concerned about him, so he took him there. When they reached the forest, the tiger launched its satyagraha and refused to get out of the car. Satyagraha as in passive resistance, non-cooperation. He was not ready to move out of that car. He was just there. The Diwan was thoroughly exhausted in his efforts. He was tired. He gave up to haul the beast out of the car and push it down to the ground. He was literally pulling it out with force or effort, but finally he literally was tired doing that. He couldn't do it any longer because that animal was not ready to move from there. On the following day, the same old tiger wandered into the Maharaja's presence and stood as if in humble supplication, "Master, what do you command of me?" So you see what happened. On the following day, that same old tiger, he wandered as in he was roaming around, walking aimlessly. They just keep wandering. They don't have to go to a particular place. Into Maharaja's, he came there, he was there in front of the Maharaja, stood as if in humble supplication, as a request, as appeal. "Oh sir, what do you command of me? What do you want me to do?" It was with boundless joy, unlimited joy, that the Maharaja took careful aim at the beast. He says, "Oh, you are the one." The tiger fell in a crumpled heap. He just collapsed. He shot him and he just collapsed. "I have killed the 100th tiger. My vow has been fulfilled." The Maharaja was overcome with elation, total happiness and excitement. He says, "Wow, I have finally done it. That promise which I had made, which I am going to kill those 100 tigers, I have finally completed." Ordering the tiger to be brought to the capital in grand procession, the Maharaja hastened away in his car. Now, finally he said, now this tiger should come with a big procession. He should be brought to the capital, and he ran away, he fastened, he hurried away in his car. After the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a closer look at the tiger. The tiger looked back at them, rolling its eyes in bafflement. Oh my God! He was confused. He was shocked. The tiger actually looked back at them. The men realized that the tiger was not dead. The bullet had missed it. It had fainted from the shock of the bullet whizzing past. That tiger had collapsed out of shock. He had not got the bullet. The bullet had not hit him, and he was, moving through so fast that it produces sound of a whistle. Zoop, that bullet went, and this guy was shocked and he had collapsed. He had not died. The tiger had not died. The hunters wondered what they should do. They said, "Oh God, now what to do?" They decided that the Maharaja must not come to know that he had missed his target. He says, if we tell him, he will kill all of us. If he did, they could lose their jobs. If they tell him that you missed the target, he would just throw them out of their jobs. One of the hunters took aim from a distance of 1 foot and shot the tiger. He says, okay, so he actually killed it. Then finally he took 1 foot, he went 1 foot behind and he shot the tiger. This time he killed it without missing his mark. Now he was close. 1 foot is how much? Then, as commanded by the king, the dead tiger was taken in procession through the town and buried. A tomb was erected over it. So now, who had actually killed the tiger? The hunter, not the king. Remember that. So basically, that 100th tiger was still pending because this tiger was killed by the hunter, not by the king. And so, the dead tiger, he was taken with a nice royal grand procession through the town and he was buried. In fact, even a tomb, a monument over the burial place was erected. It was established. It was set up over there. Why? Because he was the one who was supposed to kill the king. A few days later, the Maharaja's son's 3rd birthday was celebrated. That was a few days later. Until then, the Maharaja had given his entire mind over tiger hunting. He was like, okay, that's enough. He was totally there all the time. He had not concentrated on anything else. He had had no time to spare for the crown prince. He had not given time to his own son. But now the king turned his attention to the child. He wished to give him some special gift on his birthday. He says, now I want to give. Now he was free, he was tension free. So now he wanted to do things. He went to the shopping center in Pratibandhapuram and searched every shop, but couldn't find anything suitable. He wanted to give something special. Finally, he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift. He said, this is what I want to give my child. So he felt that wooden tiger would be the gift he wanted to gift his child. The wooden tiger cost only 2 annas and a quarter. Now, the currency, annas was the currency of the olden times. It was 1/16th of a rupee, right? And the quarter, that's 1/4 here, 1/4 of an anna. But the shopkeeper knew that if he quoted such a low price to the Maharaja, he would be punished under the rules of the emergency. He says, I don't think I should be giving him so cheap. I cannot quote such a low price, so it's better I quote it higher. So he said, Your Majesty, this is an extremely rare example of craftsmanship. Now he had to add to it. He said there has been it is skilled in a particular craft. Some particular person who's really possesses that skill has made this. A bargain at 300 rupees. He started from what? 2 annas and a quarter. That was the actual cost. But because it was the king, he says, okay, I really need to quote it high. So he told him 300 rupees. Very good. Let this be your offering to the crown prince on his birthday, said the king, and took it away with him. He says, okay, great. Then let this be your offering to the crown prince. This is what you are gifting to the crown prince. And he walked away. He took it away with him. He went with that. On that day, father and son played with that tiny little wooden tiger. It had been carved by an unskilled carpenter. Do you get this? Remember, still keep that in mind. The 100th tiger has not yet been killed. Okay. So, this tiger which he had taken, it had been crafted by an unskilled carpenter. That carpenter was not very skilled. He was not very good at it. He did not have the skill, but somehow that fellow had sold it to the king. Its surface was rough. The surface of that toy was rough. Tiny slivers of wood stood up like quills all over it. Slivers as in, here if you talk of shavings or splinters, thin splinters of wood. It's very risky. If any thing enters your skin, it's very difficult to pull it out. So yeah, there were many of them, right? And they were up like quills, those porcupine, those bristles, those short pointed pieces. They were all over it. One of these slivers pierced the Maharaja's right hand. One of those pieces went into his right hand. He pulled it out with his left hand and continued to play with the prince. He just pulled it out. He said, it's okay, and he started playing with the prince. The next day, infection flared in the Maharaja's right hand. It flared as in it increased. That infection from that sliver, the wooden piece, it increased in his right hand. In 4 days, it developed into a suppurating sore which spread all over the arm. Suppurating as in it was full of pus. That white substance that comes out, that infection became so full that this whole arm, it was filled with pus. It had sore, it had, sort of inflamed. It had become like a wound. And it spread all over his right hand. 3 famous surgeons were brought in from Madras. All the best surgeons of Madras were flown in. After holding a consultation, they decided to operate. They had a discussion, all 3 of them, and then they decided to operate. The operation took place. The 3 surgeons who performed it came out of the theatre and announced, the operation was successful. The Maharaja is dead. Operation was successful, but the Maharaja is dead. In this manner, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. Repay an inch. You know what's a revenge? Badla lena. And there you see the 100th tiger, which was actually spared. Not spared, it was missed by the Maharaja. But those hunters did not tell him. The hunter killed it actually. So basically, the king, the Maharaja, had not killed the 100th tiger. And this 100th tiger, in the form of a toy, a wooden crafted tiger, actually killed the Maharaja. So you see, the fortune teller was not wrong. It actually came out to be true. And this is what it is. Men are not punished for their sins, but by them. Please read it again to understand it better. Men are not punished for their sins, okay? But they are punished by the sins because you committed. It's a revenge. It comes back to you. Albert Hubbard said that so well. So you see, before you commit any sin, think twice. See, your inner conscious always pricks you. It tells you that this is wrong. But somewhere, somehow, our desires, they make us do it, which is so very wrong. So please be extremely careful before doing any wrong. Whatever goes, comes back. Every action has an equal and an opposite reaction. Don't forget that. So please take care and make sure you learn such more moral values from the lessons in the modules coming up. Keep watching and keep learning.